Thank you so much, Ramsey. And that was too kind of an intro. Also, can we appreciate how crazy this weather is right now? We're stuck in a greenhouse, and I guess none of you guys are leaving. So today I want to talk a bit about zooming out and where we're going with DeFi. The purpose of hosting DeFi Day today was really to tell everyone a story of where DeFi is evolving to and where we're going as a space. But before that, I want to set the tone for where Drift is today. Drift is currently the most capital-efficient DeFi platform, and we've processed over $100 billion in volume to date. We house over $1.5 billion in deposits, and we actually make money. We're annualizing about $40 million in revenue, making us the most capital-efficient DEX from a TVL and volume standpoint. So back to the topic of why today and why institutional DeFi. As Kristen and Greg have talked about, we have never seen a convergence before between TradFi and DeFi. And today, all the pieces and the infrastructure is here to bring DeFi and TradFi together. On the DeFi side, we have infrastructure like L1s and risk managers who are basically bringing DeFi to a stage where it can actually process TradFi level volumes. On the TradFi side, TradFi is truly starting to lean in. We're seeing players like BlackRock, Citi integrate their own RWAs in DeFi. We're starting to see stablecoin liquidity flow in. And as a whole, there's never been a better time for institutional DeFi. 4 huge macro tailwinds that we see with Solana. Fire Dancer is coming out very, very soon, showing 1 million in TPS in testnet. We saw Solana basically not collapse and really thrive through the meme coin craze of last year. We saw the launch of a presidential meme coin and Solana continuing to process and hum along. So the infrastructure for layer 1s has really proven itself over the last year. In 2021, a single NFT launch collapsed the chain, but today we're humming along no matter what has been going through the chain. From a regulatory perspective, the White House has given us a lot of clearance over the last year. DeFi SEC cases are being dropped, and we're really starting to see that from a macro regulatory standpoint, DeFi has been given the all clear to move forward. And I won't tell my legal team that I said this. From a stablecoin perspective, Tether and Circle continuing to grow. We have $135 billion of stablecoin liquidity flowing into the space and growing from a yield perspective. Oh, sorry about that. And we're also seeing the growth of a lot of RWA pilots, with Securitize helping to tokenize the credit funds of Apollo, and Biddle reaching $3 billion in TVL. RWA pilots are really starting to grow. Let's zoom in on a very interesting market that we think is ripe for tokenization. Private credit. So post GFC in 2008, we're starting to see the growth of a new asset class called private credit. It's been growing at an average of 14%, 3x the AUM of equities over the last decade. Private credit is very interesting because instead of getting loans directly from banks, you're actually loaning directly from private entities and individuals. And what companies like Apollo does, and we'll hear from Christine very shortly, is that they aggregate private loans and debt given to institutions and aggregates investor capital together. But across the board, private credit offers the highest risk-adjusted yield across any asset class. We look at a Sharpe ratio basis, private credit outperforms S&P, high-yield bonds, real estate, venture capital, and investment-grade bonds too. So private credit on average over the last decade has been returning about 9 to 10%. And this makes it a really, really interesting asset class to see in crypto. Even when you compare it to crypto yields, private credit outperforms. But there's a huge however. It's very, very difficult to access private credit. Traditionally, private credit has only been reserved for ultra high net worths. You would have 50 to 100 million in minimum assets to have access to private credit. Private credit has extremely long lockups, typically waiting about 3 months to get liquidity on your assets. And it's very difficult to have any capital efficiency savings when you hold private credit. It's basically $1 in private credit NAV turns it into something that's locked up for a long time. Getting USDC or the way that the ease of DeFi is very difficult. And imagine rotating between private credit fund positions. That takes almost 6 months to go from one to another. Now, this is where we believe, and this is where we see a huge gap, and where we want to reiterate our number one day one mission, which is to build an open institutional platform for everyone, so that we can give access to all users of DeFi these types of products. Now let's take a step back for a second and talk about the products that we have shipped. We started with trade. In 2021, we launched a high-performance derivatives protocol that offers 101x leverage. This is our degen product that enables you to take 101x leverage on over 100 assets that is underpinned by a capital-efficient backend. On top of that, we also launched the second largest borrow lend protocol on Solana with over $1.5 billion in total deposits. Everything cross-margin under the hood. And our latest launch yet is structured products. We launched Drift Vault back just 6 months ago, and we're now the largest structured products in Solana, enabling you to deposit into vaults run by hedge fund managers like Gauntlet and trading teams, where you can effectively deposit a minimum of $10 into sophisticated investment-grade hedge fund products. Today, we're introducing a new member to our family of product offerings, Drift Trade, Drift Earn, Drift Vaults, and I'm very excited to unveil what we're launching today. This has been under the wraps for over 6 months, and is really the pinnacle of everything that we stand for at Drift. Today, we're launching Drift Institutional. It's our biggest product yet. I've never seen a crowd get so excited about institutional products before. So, what is Drift Institutional? Drift Institutional is built to bring real-world assets on-chain and into DeFi. We are working with the largest financial institutions to bring investment-grade products and products that were previously inaccessible to everyone on DeFi today. Our aim is to bring high-yield institutional products with the aim of open access. Everyone should be able to access private credit. Everyone should be able to access institutional-grade money markets. We want to make these liquid. We want to make them interoperable with the rest of DeFi. Imagine being able to swap between your private credit assets and your money market and BTC and Solana in a single transaction. Why should this be on Drift? We think that we have built basically everything that mirrors traditional finance capital efficiency on Drift today. For the last few years, our entire focus has been building a risk engine that mirrors the infrastructure of traditional finance, but with 90% cost savings. Our team who runs $100 billion in volume is only about 35 people. To do that in TradFi would require 10x the amount of infrastructure and costs. So where traditional finance has a prime broker, we have a cross-margin engine system. Where TradFi has a custodian, we have an on-chain collateral layer that makes sure that your funds are safe at all times and verifiable. Where TradFi has a lending desk, we have an open source borrow lend platform. In TradFi, you have clearing houses. In DeFi, we have an open source liquidation engine. I don't know if anyone runs a liquidator in this room, but in Drift, anybody can be your liquidator. We have an on-chain risk engine, and lastly, on the structured product side, we have vaults that we talked about earlier, fully verifiable. The goal here, and what we're really unlocking, is the ability to use RWAs in a way that creates a value flywheel. In the past, your RWAs stopped at your wallet level. You couldn't do anything with it. With Drift Institutional, you can take your RWAs, deposit into pools, post it as collateral in DeFi vaults, and receive boosted yields. So imagine being able to borrow stablecoins against your RWA collateral and be able to deposit that, mint even more RWAs, post it into more DeFi positions, and receive a boosted yield. Our first product will be a leverage strategy, an institutional pool, with Apollo and Securitize. We will be bringing Apollo's flagship diversified credit fund, ACRED, into Drift, enabling this tokenized asset to be held in your Drift account. What this means is you can take your ACRED, tokenized by Securitize, and in a fully permissionless manner, deposit it into a borrow lend pool, borrow stablecoins against it, and run leverage strategies. What we're solving here is open access, liquidity, and capital efficiency, as we talked about so much today. With open access, you have a minimum of a 50K deposit into ACRED versus much higher minimums in TradFi. With instant liquidity, when you stake your ACRED, you can receive SACRED, which is fully permissionless and enables you to move it between different DeFi protocols, different products within DeFi, and freely transfer assets on chain. And lastly, you will be able to access leverage vaults by depositing this into Drift. And for the first time, you can both borrow against your private credit position and use it as trading collateral. With other DeFi protocols in the past, all you could do was use them as yield, but not margin. Now, this can be used as both trading collateral and borrow lend. Here's the crazy slide. We can boost your private credit yield from 8% up to 16% with a leverage strategy, because what you do is, after depositing ACRED into SACRED vaults, borrow USDC, and recomplete the loop, and really get up to 16%, 3.2x margin utility on your dollars. And we'll hear from Gauntlet very soon as well. Tarun is here. But you don't have to do this yourself. You can deposit your assets into a looping strategy where Gauntlet and risk managers will effectively manage the risk of the strategy for you. All you have to do is deposit your funds into this vault. Now, who is this all for? Of course, this is for all of us today. DeFi is fully permissionless and accessible to everyone. But our first pilot users will include Solana Foundation, Wormhole Foundation, as well as the Drift Foundation. We've built this product to really target crypto native users and to show crypto users that you can access these real products with DeFi. Now, this pilot is just the beginning. It's the first step in many. We aim to bring the entire universe of capital markets on Drift. We see huge potential in, obviously, the internet capital markets meme and narrative that every asset will eventually be housed on-chain and will eventually be able to be interoperable with everything else, Bitcoin, USDC, Solana. Private credit is a huge market, and we see even room for equities. We see room for bonds, and not just US government bonds, but government bonds in different countries, all coexisting in a single place. And we think the home for that is Drift, where structured products, borrow lends, spot trading, and derivatives all exist under one umbrella. We see the potential for on-chain IPOs to be housed on Drift. We see tokenized securities, commodities, and funds all coexisting in the same place as you might trade Bonk or Sol or even Drift token itself. So I'll end it here. But we want to unlock capital efficiency for $10 trillion of assets moving on-chain. That is the size of the RWA market and on-chain internet capital markets that we see this going to. And today, this marks the age of institutional DeFi. Thank you, everyone.